But if you really love if you're really attentive in your family, you really love your wife and your kids, and you're really attentive to the good of your family, you're going to be the best you possibly can be in your job, because your family needs that support from that job. So you're not going to neglect your career if you love your family. But if you go the other way around and you put all of your eggs in your career basket, then you might advance up the corporate ladder and lose your family.
Oh, you can even tell yourself you're doing it for your family. That's why I'm neglecting my family right now.
Yeah, and I mean, so getting that straightened is all of us need help. Yeah, putting those things in order.
Gentlemen, welcome back to the third episode of the NOLA Catholic Men's Podcast. You know, next month, unless you've been living under a rock, you know this. Next month, February 24th, at St. Catherine Louisiana Church, is the Archdiocese of New Orleans Men's Conference. And there's going to be over 1,000 guys gathered there to pray, to worship our Lord in the Eucharist, to give confessions to a priest, and to connect with other men who are serious about following Christ and growing as leaders in their families and communities. Now, one of our special guests is going to be Mike Phelan. Mike is a father of 6. He's a Knight of Columbus, and he's a pretty okay basketball player. Anyway, before Mike inspires us at the conference, he's going to sit down with Chris O'Neill in today's episode. So sit back, listen in, and please pray I don't get hurt on my skateboard.
All right, Mike Phelan, how are you?
Good to see you, brother. Doing great.
You too.
I am spoiled. I am spoiled in the vineyard of the Lord. So,
where are you these days? Are you still in Phoenix?
Mesa, Arizona, which is a big suburb of Phoenix, on the east side of town, and happily planted there, a couple blocks from our parish, and now I'm working remotely, which is strange. So I have almost zero commutes ever in my life. This is genius.
Yeah. So tell us what you've been doing. What do you? So you used to work for the Archdiocese of Phoenix, and now you have a new gig. So maybe just give us a little bit of background of where you're at, what you've been doing, and what you're doing now.
Yeah. Started my work life, married in work life as a school teacher, junior high teacher, English and history and theater and coaching basketball, and then had a strong conversion early in our marriage with my wife. And we knew that we were called to teach adults theology of the body and other things. We just knew that that's what the world needed. And so we moved on to study, and you were the other young married dude at the time. I don't know that we can call ourselves young married dudes anymore, but
not anymore, no.
And we got to know each other as 2003 entrance into what's called the John Paul II Institute for Marriage and Family Studies in D.C. Then came back after studying there and had a job just like yours in the Diocese of Phoenix, working for Bishop Olmsted, called the Marriage and Respect Life Office. And I've worked there for 18 years. It was a joyful, joyful time, and just had a change. Yeah.
You were there. We'll get to the change, but were you there when Bishop Olmsted wrote the Into the Breach letter?
That's right.
Or was that? Yeah. So you were there at that time.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That was a fruit of a lot of different kinds of attempts to strengthen men's evangelization and formation, and Bishop Olmsted decided at a certain point to just get really, really clear and direct, and to write directly to the men. And boy, that was a lot of fun.
I mean, it's about, is it 10 years yet? It was 2015.
2015 is when it was published. That's right.
Yeah, and I don't know, for any guys out there that have not read that document, shame on you. Read the document. And that document, it's about 10 years old, but it really did mark in the United States a resurgence of men's ministries all over the country. I mean,
yes,
it was participating, I think, in something that was already happening in the life of the church, but it definitely gave a lot of impetus for that. And it was, it's not usual that a bishop writes a letter to his people and it's getting read all over the world.
Yeah.
And that document really did. And it's like you said, it's real direct, it's real straightforward, it's easy, clear, very helpful. I
Yeah.
really like the thing at the back where it says, okay, every day do this, every week do this,
Yeah.
every month do that.
Yeah.
It just
Choose a patron
clear.
saint. Here's 9 options, right?
Yeah.
So it's both very practical, but also very stirring, and it's got some richness to it. We had no idea that it was going to go, kind of international, but it definitely filled a void, or it entered into a vacuum of clarity for men on living the Christian life.
Well, and I'd also say dioceses and parishes is, to say, hey, we need to be taking this some more seriously in our ministry, in our strategy for ministry. So I mean, not just for the guys, but for the for us that are in the Pharisaic class that have to try to
that have to try and reach people. Yeah, it was translated ultimately into 14 languages from what we know, and only Spanish and English came from our diocese, and so we were very excited about that. It was wild to get calls from Brazil, calls from Australia, young men mostly men in their 20s who were, finally something that's clear and written to us, and can we translate it into Portuguese? Can we translate it into Latvian? Can we have permission to translate it? So that was a very exciting time, 2015, 16, 17.
And isn't that so? You got connected. So the Knights of Columbus took up that document. And really did a lot to get it published and printed, and in the United States. And you worked with them on several projects.
That's right.
Centered around that document.
Yeah, Carl Anderson and Bishop Olmsted knew each other very, very well. He was the Supreme Knight at the time for the Knights. Knew each other really well, a lot of mutual respect. And Carl, upon reading it, really resonated with everything Bishop Olmsted was saying, and saw the same opportunity to place it in the hands, minds, and imagination of men, and it became a central formation document for the Knights of Columbus.
Yeah.
In fact, one cool anecdote with that is that Into the Breach in French was the document that Bishop Lafitte from France used to begin the Knights of Columbus for the first time ever in France. So the Knights of Columbus did not begin in France until, I believe, 2016.
Wow.
And Bishop Lafitte wrote his own foreword to Bishop Olmsted's document and said, "This is the first document I want our Knights of Columbus to read."
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Pretty
That's
cool.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was obviously the Holy Spirit's, movement of our bishops, very, very apostolic heart to say it's time to be loving, clear, and challenging to men in living their Catholic faith in a way that a bishop can do. A bishop's called to do that.
Yeah, and that's great. And and it's it's like I said, it really was a watershed moment across the country for us to start doing, like we're having our men's conference here, we do every year, but men's conference started speaking, and again, not necessarily directly with the document, but it was at that same time, and I think the document really helped get impetus to starting up men's groups and men's ministries and men's conferences, and and then even so now you're working with the Knights, and all along the Knights have been really thinking a lot about how do we better support, engage men, how do we get them involved, how do we actually do good for their spiritual lives, for them, just to do good, and so now you're working with the Knights nationally.
It's did not anticipate this coming, but I'm grateful for I'm just grateful to be a Knight, and I've been a Knight for quite some time, not always the most active of Knights, but I've always respected the men that I met in the Knights of Columbus, and especially the leadership, because we were involved with the Institute, and people may not know that the Institute for Marriage and Family Studies is directly funded by the Knights of Columbus, which is where, when we went there, I wasn't a Knight yet, but during that time I became a Knight, and the Knights of Columbus really have provided you and I an unbelievable gift in our in our education, and strenuous education in John Paul II's thought, which they continue to fund, and and anybody that's interested in John Paul II thought in growing in their faith and really wants to study, I would encourage the John Paul II Institute in DC, in Washington, DC, which remains a really strong area for graduate education.
Yeah. And the knights, I mean, a lot of people maybe not know this, usually think of knights as the guys that, set up chairs and tables at the fair or
which is
and
true.
pancakes. And it's true. I mean, you can always count on the
Yeah.
knights to step in. But, nationally, the knights are right now engaged in funding this major, major project of translating all of John Paul II's works into English in a way that's academically rigorous enough to do studies. So there's already they've published their first couple of books. It's like a several year process of translating from the original language, a lot of research going into it, and so there's going to be a whole new resurgence of scholarship on John Paul II, largely because the knights knew that this was something that was needed to make his thought accessible. So the knights are really on the cutting edge theologically of where the church, what the church is, and providing what the church needs to be able to continue its mission. At the highest levels and all the way down through to mopping the floor after the fair, and doing the things that the knights do, all the way through top to bottom. They're kind of there, which is really impressive. So
the analogy I've been using for people that want to know what the knights are, maybe know of the knights but don't know who they are, is that if you were an extraterrestrial from another planet who was given the research job to come to the United States, or to the world in general, and find out in only 1 hour, you only have 1 hour to study, what are Christ followers doing on earth? There could be no better use of that hour than to meet with the Knights of Columbus and find out everything that they're doing. And like you said, the Knights kind of turn to whatever is needed. It can be the lowest task. It can be the highest task, that of higher education. But they turn to whatever's needed, the signs of the times, And so the Knights began as a group of men in a basement with a young priest, Father Michael McGivney, who was seeing their families fall apart when the husband died at work, right? And we're seeing many men pulled into fraternal organizations like the Masons and out of the Catholic Church. And so he formed this group of men as a very young priest to be in unity together, fraternity together, to grow in their faith together and keep their faith strong and teach it to their families. So this has always been at the center of the Knights. But then also to serve charitably all those that are in need in the parish. So this is still what the Knights are doing. And in every age, it's remarkable. They turn to whatever the parish needs. They turn to what the diocese needs. But they also turn to what the universal church needs. And you and I have been real blessed beneficiaries of that.
I mean, that's that idea right there was one of the reasons why I wanted to reach out to you and in the men's conference, because what we it's not that everyone has to be it's not a big Knights of Columbus sign up drive. It's not what the men's conference is, but that idea that the Knights turn to whatever's needed is exactly the idea that all men need to have that. Like, if you're a Catholic man, you should have an impetus if your faith is alive and growing in you, then there's a desire to turn to what's needed. Like, what can I do? How can I help? What's going on in my parish? What's going on in my family? What's going on in my neighborhood? And part of what we want to do with the men's conference is call men to follow that call of desire that's in their heart, to turn to what's needed in the way that seems best to you, because the Lord really does entrust us with responsibility, and it's not the bishop has his role, the pastors and the priests, the deacons, they have their role, but every man has his role and has something that can't be no one else can do for the church. And I think Father McGivney saw that, and I think that he called the men in his groups to that. It's like, we're the ones that bear the responsibility for the life of the church in a particular way, and sometimes we just need a little help directing that, and coordinating it.
coordinating it, and the brotherhood piece is a big deal. This is part of what I'm hoping to address at the men's conference, is that the world changes for better or worse based on small groups of men.
Yeah.
It's not one guy, It's
Yeah.
it's the young Jesuits together. It's the young Franciscans together with St. Francis. It's it's John Paul II and all those couples he took into the wilderness to form them, right? That's
Yeah.
And it's groups of friends who really the Lord uses to bring great things to happen. And that's why I love your topic for this year's men's conference of friendship. And it's a neglected area. It's an area where we as men don't feel the need sometimes. We don't have a felt need necessarily for friendship until we experience it. Then we're like, oh my gosh, how did I live?
What?
How did I live without this?
Right.
A lot of men just rely on their wives for their friendship. But when we taste it, when we experience that brotherhood, it's so powerful, and amazing things can happen, way more than any of us could accomplish on our own.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's one of the fundamental principles of our nature. We're social animals, is what they would say. But the thing that the thing even on a purely natural level, the thing that separates us from the animals, that the superpower that we have, is that we can communicate with each other, and we can share ideas, and we can influence. I mean, here we are. Look, that's what we're doing right now. Like we're talking across, signals are going to space and back, and we're just so we can talk to each other and see each other, and share ideas and develop ideas. And what emerges is always more than what either of us together bring to it. And so the fact that we can form relationships with each other builds something that can't emerge on its own. You can't build a church just one guy. You can barely build a house, one guy. And
take you 4 years.
Maybe a hut, a shelter in the woods, to get out of the rain. But you get a group of people together, and you can build a neighborhood, you can build a city, and even on small levels, like just a small group of friends. Like, I mean, how many businesses, like really great businesses, start up just because it's 3 or 4 guys scratching stuff on the back of a napkin and sharing their ideas and deciding to work together.
Exactly.
And how much of that holds up? And that's just on a natural level. That's not even, and we haven't even brought in, when 2 and 3 are gathered together, there I am in your midst. The work of God that gets done. When there's just a group of guys together.
Yeah, it's remarkable. And it's a lot of fun, to have that kind of brotherhood. I have a group of friends that, we meet every 2 to 3 Saturdays, and call ourselves the Crunks. I mean, we don't even remember why we did that. I think that means earnest young men or zealous young men, which the young doesn't necessarily apply that much anymore, but the rest of it applies. We read something, we watch something, and we talk. And it's taken a while, but we now have that ability to be open and deeply honest, deep in a sense vulnerable. That really makes us eager to be back. And we've begun to discuss projects in common. Like projects are going to come of this. And so, it's invaluable in my life, and I would hope every man experiences that. And I'm glad the conference is focused on it.
Yeah. I mean, that's both the strength and the weakness of the conference. Is that the strength is that it gathers everyone from all over, right? It's the conference itself. The experience of the conference is really a beautiful symbol of the whole complex, rich beauty of the church, all in one place at one time.
Yeah.
But in one day, on a few hours on a Saturday, you're not going to form deep, functioning, rich, contributing friendships. They can start there.
That's right.
It's a start. But the men's conference isn't about the men's conference. The men's conference is about helping men grow and develop in their faith all year long. And that happens by forming friendships, being open to friendship, and investing in it. Investing your time and your attention. Anything that you pay attention to gets richer. That's one of the things that we've been talking about a lot around here. Whatever guys pay attention to gets richer. That's why Instagram wants your attention. That's why Facebook wants your attention. They get richer the more
attention is money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But some things we pay attention to, they get richer and we get poorer. But there's some things like friendship, and care, that the more we pay attention to it, the richer the friendship is, which is the richer we are, because we participate in it. It's a common good.
What do you think about this, Chris? I had a wise priest I was having a conversation with this past weekend. He's our state chaplain for the Knights. And he made the proposal that there's no difference between holiness and paying attention.
Yeah.
There's no difference between holiness and paying attention. That really struck me. And I didn't get a chance to have follow-up questions with him, but what do you think about that?
I think that's right. It depends on what you pay attention to. Even that thing that you said, the Knights turn to what's needed. It's like, well, what are you turning to? What is it? Because holiness has to do with right praise of God, right worship of God, but you have to turn towards God to praise him. You're going to praise something. There's going to be something in your life that you're going to say, that is good. That's
the highest thing.
That's the highest thing. That's the most important thing. And that could be your career. That could be your job. That could be your painting. It could be your hobby, and so, you're going to praise and lift up whatever the highest good is. That's why idolatry is always a danger.
Yeah.
But all of those things rest on attention.
Yeah.
If you ever went to an Eastern Rite tradition, part in their liturgies, there's a constant call from the deacon, let us be attentive. Let's be attentive. Pay attention, pay attention, pay attention.
That's right.
And we need other people to call. I mean, the advertisers know that, right? That's why advertising works, is because they say, pay attention to this, Coca-Cola, or whatever. And so that's one of the things that a church community, the men's groups can do, is call us to attentive to the things of God.
Yeah.
And when those things, highest order good things, are attended to, then they end up enriching us too, and all of the other goods also.
Yeah.
I think of this, that passage that Benedict XVI said. I think it might have been his first homily. I can't remember, but he said that thing that, you lose absolutely nothing when you follow Christ.
Yeah. He takes nothing important from you at all. Yeah.
Nothing
you gain
at all.
Everything. You gain everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Because when the highest order good is being attended to, then everything else is also being attended to in the right proportion.
Yeah. So when Jesus says, the first commandment is this: love the Lord your God, right? There's the highest.
Yeah.
And love your neighbor. So maybe holiness is when our attention is directed in that way, to God and then to our neighbor.
Yeah.
And that is what the Knights at their best do, and that's what we're all called to as men.
Yeah.
We
all know this. I mean, we know this.
We know it when we are reminded. When we are reminded,
we know that our career is super important, but at the same time, our career can distract us from our family. We all know this. We write songs about this. Everyone knows this.
Yeah.
But if you really if you're really attentive in your family, you really love your wife and your kids, and you're really attentive to the good of your family, you're going to be the best you possibly can be in your job, because your family needs that support from that job. So you're not going to neglect your career if you love your family. But if you go the other way around and you put all of your eggs in your career basket, then you might advance up the corporate ladder and lose your family.
Oh, you can even tell yourself you're doing it for your family. That's why I'm neglecting my family right now.
Yeah.
And I mean,
so
we can
getting that straightened is all of us need help.
Yeah.
Putting those things in order.
Yeah.
So that we can have the richest, life we can live in this earth, and be happy with God and forever in the next.
And God even challenges us on the family front, right? Because Christ says, what's family is second place, but not first place, right?
Yeah.
He who doesn't hate his mother and father in light of loving me is not worthy of me. right?
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
striking, but so in other words,
That's right.
God first, right? So
That's right.
yeah,
But when God's first, all the other goods also
we
flow.
love our families better when God's first,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
That's right.
yeah. No idol, no idol in the way of the Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So that, I mean, it's such a rich thing, and we are living the reason for the friendship theme, the reason for the men's conference, for all of the effort in our parishes and everything to do men's groups is because it's so easy to get distracted, and a
yeah.
distraction is that getting those things out of order. Like you're
That's
paying
right.
attention to things,
Yeah,
in and out of order. It's not that like watching a film on Netflix or something is
that's right.
in itself a bad thing, but it can become disordered. And being able, and we need the friendship of all of these men. We need
Yeah,
them to be, engaged and involved, and having, because when their life is good, then our life is good too. Like
yeah,
it's there's like a feedback loop about that.
yeah. Iron sharpening iron is
Yeah,
another way of saying it. We really are when we see other men paying attention to the Lord, it's attractive to us. Like when it's
yeah,
authentic, and we need that. So the friendship piece is really, really big.
yeah, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what you're doing for the Knights now, and what
Okay.
I want to talk a little bit about the core. I think a lot of people maybe don't know about the core
Yeah.
initiative that's going on the Knights, and so maybe we could talk a little bit about what's that all about, and what direction the Knights are going to go, and how that can be we can take some inspiration from that.
Yeah. Father McGivney founded the Knights really for three reasons: to give men support and family support when they were in danger, and they were in danger constantly in the late 19th century. To be of service to the parish community, and to grow in their faith and know their faith and be able to pass it on to the next generation. So what the team that I get to jump on with the Knights is the evangelization and faith formation team, which is a newly formed team. It's about just less than 5 years old. My particular role is director of evangelization content. So our job is to create content, video content, written content that the Knights can use to grow, And so the Into the Breach video series would be an example of our team's work. The new Marriage and Family series just came out in the fall, is a part of our work. And we've just created the first Bible study that the Knights have ever created, called Men of the Word. And so these are content that my team is responsible for producing and promoting. In addition to that, under Patrick Kelly's leadership as the Supreme Knight over the last 3 years, something called CORE has developed. CORE means heart in Latin, and it is derived from St. John Henry Newman's quote, "Cor ad cor loquitur," which heart speaks to heart.
Right. Yeah.
And core, when the Bible, when the church says heart, it's not what Disney movies mean by hearts, right? Follow your heart. It's not just follow your feelings. It is feelings. Feelings have a place in it, but it's the core depth of the person. So that's your heart. Yeah. And it's where your intellect, your feelings, your will, and your memory, everything that's deepest in you comes to bear and comes together. And it's the place where you make your decisions from.
Yeah, it's your integrity.
Yeah, integrity is the sign. That's right. Of what your heart
are together. Yeah,
that's right. It is the integrated self. And so even in this conversation, your heart, your integrated self is speaking to mine, and vice versa. And when that happens, as we said earlier in this conversation, the whole grows. It's way greater than just those that are talking to each other. Or interacting with each other, or working together, or whatever it is. So heart speaks to heart, cor ad cor loquitur, and we call it CORE. And CORE is a place, a meeting where Knights and all the men of the parish decides they want to do CORE. come together, pray, have fellowship, and then form in their faith. And it's designed to be an hour to an hour and a half, up to the council how they want to schedule it, all those kinds of things, what they want to study, what they want to do. But it's a service to the parish of providing a prayer opportunity and faith formation. And we have over 4,600 councils planning to begin core over the next year, which is really exciting. There's 17,000 Knights councils in the world. This is an optional gathering for them to do on a monthly basis, but many of them are seeing the need. Again, the Knights turn to where the need is, the need to give men a place to strengthen their faith. And it's very exciting that core is definitely taking off. And we've got a lot of material.
I mean, there's some really brilliant elements. Like, one, it's not another meeting. It's not a service meeting.
Not simply a meeting.
Yeah, it's not simply a meeting.
It's not business. It's not.
Yeah, it's not
none
business.
of that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, not that that's not important, but there's another place for that. There's another opportunity for that. And then it's also not meant to be in the first place like a recruiting thing. Like, it's not like, oh, let's just get more Knights. It's really meant to very intentionally meant to serve the needs of the community of that parish,
exactly.
And strengthen the men in those parishes, which is just it's a real, it just shows that there's a humility and an honesty associated with really trying to do what's good for the parish and not necessarily what's gonna bring in more members or something like that.
That's an important aspect of it. It really is a service of love and truth to gather men together and help them to grow, help them to have those friendships as well.
Yeah, I think the state chaplain for Louisiana, Father, I lost his name. He's right here. He's in Baton Rouge. He made a really great video.
I can picture him because of the video, but I don't remember his name either. It was great.
I can't remember. Why am I losing his name? Anyway, but yeah, all the Knights. I spoke with the deputy here for the state of Louisiana, and I think they really want all the chapters in Louisiana to be thinking about core and trying to see how it works in their local context and stuff like that, which is just great.
I was very impressed with that video. He has a deep understanding of what the Knights
Father Jamin.
I'm glad it came to you.
David. Yeah.
You're not as old as you think. It did come back.
It did. I had to stop talking and then it would come back. But yeah, so I think a lot of guys here in New Orleans and all around Louisiana should start to see core crop. And its core is COR. It's the Latin core, not CORE or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so we should be seeing that. You guys who are out there, and you can start asking about it. So a lot of the leadership of the Knights are already familiar with it, and they're kind of, it's something that should be coming down the pike. So
it's well on the way.
Yeah. So it's great. It's just a really great thing. So, what else? Anything else we want to talk about, or
looking forward to being there on February 24th, and speaking to the power of men who have Christ's mind and heart and have it together. I think that's kind of my topic for the day, and then a little bit about the Knights, but it's not going to be focused so much on the Knights of Columbus as on this crucial relationship that guys need in their lives, which is real friends, a real brotherhood. Chris,
you're going to be talking to the cream of the crop,
I know the ones who already have the friends for the most part, right?
Yeah.
Because men don't come to men's conferences. Groups of men come to men's conferences.
That's right.
So that's good though, because those men that have been given that gift of friendship and brotherhood, or have the beginnings of it, that gift is a responsibility for us, because we have to reach out to those that don't. And there are way more Catholic men who don't have that brotherhood than who do. Yeah. And so, so thinking of it as an act of a gift, to others, a gift of charity to others, to invite other men in, in whatever way makes sense for that group. But men are dying for this. Wives of men are dying for this, for their husbands. And they may not know that yet either, but the biggest proponent of our small faith group is our wives.
Yeah.
Aren't you meeting this Saturday, honey? Aren't you going to be meeting this Saturday? What they mean by that is, I want my best husband back.
Yeah.
Please go to the meeting. Please go.
Yeah, a lot of times guys don't want to take a Saturday off to go to a men's conference because they're afraid their wives have other work for them to do on Saturday. Like they want them to mow the grass or do something else. But whenever you ask it's like one of the, when we watch people registering for the men's conference, the registration trends, Valentine's Day is always like the biggest registration
That's
day.
Great. That's great. Oh, it's so smart to have it after Valentine's Day. That's really good.
Well, it's just that wasn't planned. I didn't
That's
expect
hilarious.
that, but it was like, what's going on? Why is everyone registering? And I went, because you want. I mean, you think about it in the other way around. How good is it when your wife, say, has some really good friends to talk to, and she goes and talks to them about things that you can't. It's difficult for you to be the person to do that with, So, having good, strong, and other people that are pointing you and are encouraging you to be better, it makes the whole family better. So
yeah, wise women know and learn that there's certain things that only other men can challenge and help their husband with.
Yeah.
They sense that, there's plenty of things our wives can do that for us with, but there's some things that we need other men to do it. Otherwise we don't see it, or it feels like we're being nagged,
Yeah.
But another guy can say stuff to us that we can take the challenge. We can be surprised by it, but also respond to it, be accountable for it. So there's,
it's also I find it's help. Like there's
Absolutely.
a way another guy can help me in a way that on certain things. Like if I'm like moving furniture and having someone I can call and say, can you help me like move this stuff around, and having guys that will be like, yeah, I'm here. I can come and help you.
Yeah.
Like, I can help you with that.
That's good. I like that.
You're in a tight spot. Like there's things that, and then also work or sometimes we're working with each other in our jobs or our careers or starting a business or whatever it is, and say, hey, I need some help with this problem I'm having, having a network of other guys that are, skilled in different ways.
Yep.
This just pays huge. And then to be able to contribute back to that, it's just
huge. Yeah.
And I think it's another thing I wanted to, you mentioned too, that the guys at the men's conference tend to be the guys that are already in groups, because men don't go to men's conferences, but men's groups do. That's true. Which is why those of you who are thinking about going to men's conference, the best thing you can do is invite someone else to come.
Yep.
But also, when you're the kind of guy in the life of the church who's connected to a community of the church, there's a way in which you kind of think that that's just normal and that's what everyone's doing.
Yeah.
And you don't notice the guys that are languishing, or that are, sometimes guys, like there's research been done about this. It's something like 15 or 20% of guys right now, adult men, who report having no close friends at all.
That's right.
And it's not because they're loners or losers or bums or anything like that. It's because they're super distracted by everything else that's going on in the world. They're working hard at their job. They're doing, they're trying to do all the things that they're supposed to do. Most guys, but they're just not connected.
Yeah.
And to just reach out, there are tons of guys that just need they just need to be recognized, and like, oh, hey, look, you're another guy that's worth seeing and being in the presence of. And
you're not alone. We have a lot in common, and we have baptism in common. That's a big deal. We're already brothers in Christ. We're already brothers.
Yeah.
And so providing that opportunity, that place for these guys to land, to be involved, and then to make friendships it's item number one, I think, for the church right now, as far as men's ministry goes, is to provide those places. And at the men's conferences are a great place to light the fire. So Good on
one
you.
of the things that's really great that you can only experience if you're actually there is, we're going to have, 800,000 guys in this room, and when 1,000 guys pray in Our Father together, or they sing a song together,
Yep.
and you just have, you're in the midst of brothers, and you're contributing your voice, but you're always hearing more than you're contributing. Like, it's bigger
That's
than
good
you.
example, yeah.
And you have this sense that you belong to something, and you're part of something, and you really are part of something.
Yeah, it's
And
just
the
a
church
sign
wants
that you are. Yeah.
it's a
That's
sign
great.
that you really are part of something,
Yeah.
so you go to the
Yeah.
men's conference, or you go to these things to encourage other guys by your presence, but also to be encouraged by the presence of others. When you look around and you see, look, there's all these guys that are also
Mm-hmm.
doing their best, trying to figure it out, fumbling
Mm-hmm.
along, but
Mm-hmm.
making progress as best they can.
Mm-hmm.
You don't so discouraged by your weaknesses or your failures, and at the same time you don't make excuses for them,
That's right.
and you press on, and that's why that a day like that can be such an encouragement.
Yeah.
Such an encouragement.
Yeah. Well, really looking forward to it. I look forward to meeting the guys. I look forward to being with the team and seeing what your team's all about. Just so you guys know, you may not know Chris super well, but those of us that were at the JP2 Institute figured out in about 2 weeks that there were only like 2 of us who could actually think philosophy and theology, and Chris was one of those guys. And Chris is a beast. So you guys are very blessed to have Chris running your marriage and family office there. And we've missed each other. We used to be in a theater group together. You may not know that either. We started doing John Paul II's work on the side, his theater work, just for fun, and it became a thing, and got to know each other over those couple of years and even beyond. And so looking forward to being with you, brother, and being there with your men. And
Absolutely. Well, thanks for that. You had to get a jibe into me, so that's okay.
That's right.
So
I can talk about the bad stuff too, but that was
Don't do that. Right?
Not today.
So hey, look, Mike, thank you. I'm so glad that you're coming, and that you'll be here. Really looking forward to your contribution and for everything. And thanks for this time. I appreciate it. I think the guys will be really hopefully edified. For those of you guys who are listening, if you found this to be helpful, let us know. Make a comment, give us a like, and all that social media stuff, or reach out to us. My email is coneal@arch-no.org. So you can just email me directly if you have any thoughts, questions, other people you want to see me talk to. I'd love to hear from you. And Mike?
Yeah, same. If guys want to email, michael.phelan@kofc.org. That's Knights of Columbus website, kofc.org. Maybe
and where can people go to learn more about CORE or whatever the Knights are doing?
kofc.org/COR. kofc.org/COR. You'll find everything there, what CORE is, how it works, what are the suggestions for how it works, and what are the suggestions for the content you can start. Yeah.
Great. All right. Blessings to you, brother. Thank you.
You too, brother. All
right. Take care, everyone.
Take care.
Bye.